So, today I wanted to do a little story time and share a message for the woman who is considering or already deciding to go all in on her business. Because I was her 2 years ago, and prior to that decision, I had already been an entrepreneur for 2 years. But looking back, I really didn't call myself an entrepreneur at all. I saw myself as someone who was walking her mission, her purpose, and I was offering services that I asked money for, but it really was from this place of like, I'm just, trying to find out what I'm meant to be doing. And obviously, I need money as well to provide for the things that I want. So, this is the only way that I feel called to do that. There's no other way that I want to receive money besides doing what I'm doing now. So that's when I really kind of started doing that, but it was more so underpaid hobby than an actual business. And back then I called it a business, but now I'm like, no, that definitely was not a business at all. It really was an experiment, which that's part of the process. You find out what you like doing or what you love doing by starting. And when you start, it's not like this immediate solid thing which makes all the sense to you. No, it's like you're just taking the next step. You're figuring out what this really is or what this is going to mean to you. And then there comes a point where you're like, oh, I want this to, go to the next level. And so I had that realization back in 2024. That's when I made the decision during this time of year, springtime. I was like, what I'm doing right now, I want to turn that into something way more solid. I want this to really provide for my reality. I really want this to be a sustainable thing. I really couldn't pin down what I was really doing, and I wanted that to end. I wanted to really be able to tell people like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm creating, this is the business that I have, this is who I help, this la 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 la. The list goes on. So I made that decision to go all in. But when I made that decision, I was as well following this spiritual teacher slash relationship coach, and he talked about masculine and feminine energies and how that polarity, creates the perfect dynamic within relationships between men and women. I really loved all his teachings so much. Like, I really got so much out of everything he shared with me. But he shared this video one day where he talked about women in business and how in a relationship, if a woman is going to decide to, basically create her own business or become a business owner or, go down that path, that she's going to step more into her masculine energy. And that kind of threw me off because I was like, oh no, I want to be my feminine energy because I am in a relationship. Like back then I was in a relationship and I was like, no, but I want there to still be chemistry between me and my partner. I want our relationship, to thrive. I want this to work. I want this other person to still be attracted to me. That's what I cared about back then. So I was like, okay, I'm making the decision to go all in on my business, but as well, I'm going to be deciding to fully embody my feminine energy. So I was like, okay, there must be a way then, even though he is kind of, saying that it's not going to work. I believe that it can work. Looking back, I did not know how life-changing those two decisions were going to be. Because the moment I decided that I was worthy of and being in my divine feminine energy and worthy of building my own business, that this was going to make me realize that the relationship I was in was actually not supportive and wasn't healthy because I wasn't actually healthy with myself, and my partner at the time wasn't healthy with himself either. So, I became very clear. And then that relationship went downhill from that moment on. And eventually, we broke up. That relationship ending was the biggest shock to my system and was the most heartbreaking experience I had ever gone through. So healing from that took so long. Like a year went by and I was still really actually healing from that whole experience. But while I was healing from that relationship, I remembered the decision I had made. I wanted to build a sustainable business. I wanted to go all in on my business. So while I was still healing and recovering, I as well started to focus back in on that. And when I started doing that, when I started to get coaches to help me build a business, and helped me really get clear on what type of business I wanted to build and what I was going to be about, what it was going to be, what was I going to be doing, all those type of things. I started to realize that yes, actually, when you go all in on a business as a woman, you're going to first meet the divine masculine within. And you're going to realize how this energy has been suppressed, has been unhealthy, and how it wants to grow and how it wants to expand and how it wants to heal. But what I saw very clearly through that is that, yes, that first year of leaping into your business or starting a business or creating a business or going all in on your business, taking your business more seriously, you're going to first move through the divine masculine energy within you. And yes, you're going to be using it a lot and you're going to be in it a lot. And it's true. And that spiritual teacher, he was right. I was definitely over the last year a lot in my masculine energy because you need to be. Because to build something, to create a structure for something, to lay a foundation is to use your masculine energy. And then you start to as well heal that energy within you for you to be able to create something that is going to be sustainable and is going to be supportive of your feminine energy as well. And that I definitely saw looking back. I'm like, whoa, the first 2 years after making that decision, I started to heal my divine masculine energy. And the only way that was possible was for me to no longer be in a relationship with a man that was wounded. I needed to first heal that masculine energy within me because the only reason I had been with a masculine man that was wounded was because it was wounded within me. And making that decision actually started the healing process of my divine masculine energy, which at times was scary because prior to that, I had been really comfortable in just like my feminine energy having no structure or having no like supportive container, and which made me feel lost most of the time because if your feminine energy has no balance with the masculine energy, it's going to feel like you're just like in a void that never ends. It has no beginning nor end. So that's something you're going to experience. I definitely experienced that. But yeah, that I wanted to. And now looking back, I'm like, every woman, definitely every creative woman that is going to walk this path needs to understand that you're going to really start embracing more of your masculine energy first and healing through that, and maybe even embodying a lot of masculine energy to be able to build this thing that you want to last for a long time. And then now, for me personally, now that I've really moved through a lot of that foundation, structure, container type of stuff for my business, I now see how my feminine energy is returning more and wants to expand within those containers and be able to surrender and create within those containers. And it's really cool to see that return and to see myself really expand back into that. And obviously, it wasn't that I was losing touch with my feminine energy at all. No, because that was the second decision I made next to creating the business, that I was going to embody my feminine energy, my divine feminine healed energy. So I as well did that at the same time. So it wasn't that I was like full on masculine energy. No, I wanted to be able to combine both. But looking back, I can say that, yes, in those first years, you will be mostly in your masculine energy. And that probably doesn't even really work within relationships, or at least in those relationships, you need to be very clear about the fact that you're going to be more in your masculine energy as your partner might as well be, and that there might not be as much attraction as there was previously. Looking back, I'm like, it's so funny because that spiritual teacher, he was really truly right about it. But in a way, he as well really was kind of saying that women that have their own business cannot be in relationships, or at least not in like successful relationships that have a lot of chemistry and sexual attraction to each other and stuff like that. I don't agree with that because the moment a woman has created a business that really has a masculine, container to it, she can really start to bloom within her feminine energy within that business, and as well, meet someone that is aligned with that she is walking this path and that she is going to be maybe sometimes more in her masculine energy. But that's, I would say, a lot of women have that. If you work a job, you're going to be more your masculine energy because you're going to be, productive. You're going to be doing, you're going to be putting things out there. You're going to be a lot up here. So yeah, like, but yeah, so I learned a lot through that, and I'm just like, whoa, it's really crazy to look back on that and see all those dots really connect, that I'm like, well, I made the decision to go all in on my business while at the same time wanting to be my divine feminine energy, coming to terms that the divine masculine energy I was surrounding myself with in someone else was actually not, supportive, and was a reflection of how I was relating to my divine masculine within. And that I first needed to, heal that part of myself and move through that and really find, the healthy divine masculine energy within myself, and the divine masculine energy that supports me and that understands me and allows me to grow and expand and not tries to control, restrict me in my feminine expression, or judges me or brings me down for being really bright and um abundant in my energy. And now I'm just like, it's so crazy because I used to really look at women that had their own business, and I felt this sense of security, stability, kind of like a solid energy they had within themselves. But that was that divine masculine energy they had to embody and embrace to be able to build this business. And that can be scary because you will be more focused on certain things besides, when you're really in your feminine energy, where you're more focused on just being and being your most beautiful, radiant self and loving yourself. You're really focused on things that, a divine masculine energy is really focused on. And it can get really kind of like, yeah, uncreative sometimes. But then when you really connect back to that feminine energy, you notice like, no, this needs to be in harmony, because otherwise it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel aligned, and that's not going to be sustainable. And I want it to be sustainable. So there needs to be this balance. There needs to be this harmony within these energies, while at the same time realizing that, for me personally, I enjoy being more in my feminine energy than the masculine energy, but I need to be connected and aware of that masculine energy within me to be able to have this business and have it be something that I can sustain and where it can sustain me.